So let's go ahead and get started with concepts, and I will answer any question related to concepts and how you can write using outranking. Anything around researching, generating concepts, and how to use concepts to write your paragraph. We will cover anything around that. So let's get started, and I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. Some of you might have certain keywords that you want me to go after. Feel free to dump them in the chat, and I will pick one and we'll just get started right away. Okay, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here, and let me open up my chat. Garage door repair. Sounds good. And best dog bowl, European river cruise. This is great. These are some of the great topics. 3 is enough, I think, for this particular presentation. So let's stop there and we can get started. Let's go ahead and go to home. So I usually like doing related keyword search just in case before. And I'm pretty sure there should be sufficient amount of search volume and keywords associated with it. Okay. It's going to be difficult to rank for it. So I would go ahead and pick something more specific maybe, but this is going to cover how the entire guide of repairing everything. And then probably if you're selling a service, you'd want to go ahead and create some outlines which can talk into the services that you are offering and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get started with the garage door repair. I know it's going to be super difficult to rank for. Also, CPC is quite high. So almost in every city, someone or the other is advertising for this particular word. So just be careful with that, but let's go ahead and click this. Okay, title ideas. Let's pick one. Nope. How to repair garage doors. This fits the intent. Okay, I'm just gonna click. Okay, so let's go ahead and start building some outlines out so that we can use those outlines to create concepts around. And I'll pick randomly. So this is the first time I'm looking at this keyword. So there are chances that we'll make mistakes into adding some of this H2 tags, and result of that, we will see how it affects the data that comes out of concepts as well. So garage door services. Okay, this is great if you are offering a service. These are some companies. How much is a garage door? Okay, that's something that people might want to know. Experts repair near me. Why should I buy a garage door? Okay, maybe not. So I see that these are majorly the concepts that it came up with. I'm not satisfied here, so I'm going to go here. How much does it cost to fix a garage door? That is something that I want to talk about. Can a bent garage door be repaired? So these are all the FAQs that you'd probably want to add at the later on. So let's just create an FAQ here, open it up, and I'll put this over here. How do I install a garage door spring? Okay, I didn't want to add that. How do I install a garage door spring? Okay, so this is enough, right? So we're not going to go through the entire process of creating an outline here, but you get a gist of it. We've added some outlines over here that we can go ahead and start creating content around. So let's go ahead and create sections and outline. Okay, so now we are here. So now we're talking about anything related to creating content, generating research, using concepts and writing through that research, right? So let's go ahead and say, what is the first part of your writing process, right? Before even you start writing this, it's probably going to be your introduction. So I'm going to use one of the methods to create my introduction for a quick spin-off. Let's go ahead and see. There's one in public that I specifically like this. Okay, let's go. It's asking us to enter a tone before we start writing. So I'll let it pass, and I will add professional. Okay. Let's come here and command it. It's going to start writing a brief problem, agitation, and solution paragraph that you can use as your introduction. So we'll not go into editing the document paragraphs just yet. So the way I focus on creating content is going about and creating my first draft really fast. Once I have that first draft, it's really easy for me to go and make those small changes and make those adjustments. You can, Alex, you can use pretty much any tone that you want, anything, absolutely. So I created a particular instruction which said my folder, okay, cyborg style introduction, right? So this is an example. You can use pretty much anything, a 5th grader, a child, a sarcastic, a sarcastic person. You can combine the 2 tones as well, like funny and sarcastic together. You can do pretty much anything that you want with it. And that's why we left it open for you to be more creative and not have some confinement to it. So yeah, this will work just fine. Okay, let's go ahead and go to sections. And now we go to sections. How much does it cost to fix a garage door spring, right? So let's see if someone has mentioned this into their content. Chances are there might not be. Well, there we go. So before we get into the details of it, I'll tell you what are the changes that we made recently in today's early update, a minor release that we made out. We really took a step ahead and enhanced our search engine capabilities. So not only it is now trying to match your H2s and H3 tags with the existing content from SERP data, but it is also matching for keyword density. So finding out the most relevant paragraphs out of the ranking pages and extracting information out of it. We are also running sentiment analysis. So even if you say best how to develop content marketing strategy and how to create content marketing strategy, it can figure out on its own that they both mean the same thing and I need to pull content from it. So we've enhanced a majority of the parts of our search engine that pulls and identifies this relevant information from SERP and generates concepts around it. So now you can see that you have some cost associated with it, like home warranty for garage door repairs. Annual cost is around this much. Average cost for garage door repair is this in United States. You can see there's tons of information that is relevant to the cost of garage door repair. Okay, this is great. If I was building out a very big section, then I could use all of this information to build out a very huge section, right? But let's say I just want to build out the cost related function, right? I don't want to get into all the other things. So what I would do now is use a different template to show you what it really does differently when you use some of this other templates to collect concepts out of it. So for this one particular, since I'm looking for only cost, and since cost can be mentioned many places in many paragraphs, so you don't really have to understand this right now, like how do you go about it? But once you start using the platform, you'll have ability to just kind of identify which templates you want to use. But let's use related for this one and see what happens. It's really trying to find concepts which are very closely related to cost. If you read everything around it, you'll see repair cost depends on extent of the repair. DIY might mean practically, but it can be risky if you don't have experience. You can see fees over here. Then you will see, again, cost related to it, compare plans related to it. So it is really influencing the AI to figure out concepts related to cost and come up with it. So this is a great tip that you guys should experiment a little bit when pulling out concepts, and every template does a very specific different thing that you might want to look at. So let's see, how do we build out content for this? So, okay, I have my H2 tag and I want to start up with an introductory paragraph, which talks about some of these things, right? So, okay, these are the two that I could start off my introduction with. There we go. Okay, press enter. And now say garage door companies typically charge a service fee. And then with that service fee, you should never try any of these garage door fixes on your own. So that we don't want to talk about that, but we want to talk about that and this together, right? So we're talking about charge service fees, and we're talking about how much it costs to fix it, and we'll just expand upon the concept. There we go. So now you see it's super relevant to what we want to talk about. What is the cost of it, right? You could go and adjust the cost if your cost is a little different than the competition, and write around this as well. Now, one thing that we really missed out over here was products, right? So you might be selling some products which are quick fixes and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that as well as we go along. So let's say services now. So broken spring replacement, right? So similarly, you can generate concepts out of it. There we go. Why do you need to conduct some of this thing? So you see, it's really trying harder now to figure out exactly what concepts to bring from using the search method that we have made improvements on. So almost all of the concepts now most of all the H2s and H3 tags, and clicking on the generate concepts will bring out concepts now. So let's go ahead and delete that. And you see, you can start building out this H3 tag, but I have not built out my H2 tags for this yet, right? So I probably want to write an introduction for it. So here I'm going to pick out an introduction template. Why did I do that? Because I know there's, like I need to start off with an introduction for this particular thing and then get into a lot of details. So I don't want to use, let's say for my AI credits in scraping all the content. So I just want to be a little specific, get a little and be more related to introduction kind. Okay, and these are some of the concepts that we can start building our content around. So let me end this right here, go up here. And you don't need to copy the H2 tag. It automatically copies it when you are building out. So you could also select one concept and summarize it if you wanted to write more. Okay, so it started getting into some of the steps. If you don't want the steps, delete it out and expand upon the second concept. Okay, great stuff. And now you can start getting into your H3 tags where you talk about more specific things, right? So, okay. Everything that it started talking. So like it's talking about customers in Mesa, Arizona. It's coming up with some details that it had. And it's also saying like Arizona best garage door and repair company. Feel free to go and change that to your own company. It knows that we're talking about services. So you cannot be just talking about services without offering a service. So you need to be talking about your service. So you have to identify places like this where you go and insert your own company name or your own customer name and address around it. So AI can do majority of it. AI can put the context together, but AI cannot do every part of human job. So if you're expecting that this should automatically understand where you are sitting, it's not going to, but it's going to give you context around it. So go ahead and modify some of those things and make it concise and more relevant to what you are doing. Are you going to add conclusions to public? Yes, we're going to add plenty of different kinds of conclusions with frameworks, and all of these are going to be super creative. So if you'd notice the past framework that we use to create the introduction, people don't use it like that. They use it for products, right? So we modified this data to come up with precise introductions, right? So there will be many different types of introduction templates, conclusion templates, and even specific things that you can do within content. And we call them methods. They are methods, actually. They're not templates because you're automating quite a bit of a process of inserting the relevant information into this templates, which makes it a method. Okay, there we go. All right, so we talked about this, right? Like, so you understand how you can go about building out your content really fast. We're about 400 words in while I'm explaining all of these things. If I was not talking, we could probably be at around 1500 words. That sounds good. Now, let's say you want to talk about the product that you sell, right? So I'm going to go to the SERP and pick out a product. I saw that there were some products that people were talking about. Winding torsion spring. Okay, you see that? That is one of the products. So it could be, you could have your own products, right? And that's okay. We can handle that kind of data as well. Let's go to sections now. Oh, we are already in sections, never mind. All right, and now we have to talk about this particular product, right? So let's generate the regular concepts around it so I can show you guys a few ways of creating concepts. Okay, this is everything. Okay, this is giving you everything, every concept, whether it is relevant, not relevant, or slightly relevant from the entire content that it's reading. Let's delete that. And now we will choose features. Okay, it's giving you more information around the features of this particular product. So let's say this is not relevant. Okay, all of these things are relevant, right? So you can start with the introduction. We said that video shows where to stand and when winding and unwinding the torsion springs. And then you can say this are some of the features of it. Let's go ahead and delete that. And I will go ahead and pick out benefits and see if it is able to pick out some benefits out of it. So it is just talking about the content because there's no benefits listed over here. Most of this information is just facts and basically features of the particular product. So in this case, I would go and find out some reviews from the product, some product reviews for this particular product from Amazon or wherever it is selling, and use that to extract benefits and disadvantages out of it if you are doing a comparison of other products. If you are not, that's totally fine. Okay, let's go ahead and see some other examples as well of concepts. I'm trying to find a step that I can show you guys. There's not really much here. How much is the garage door? But we can probably look at in another example from the keyword that we see. What I want to show you guys is how do you collect steps about going and answering a particular section. So we'll go ahead and look at in the other one. Okay, so was this good enough and was this helpful related to garage door repair? Who asked that? Kendrick. Yes, okay, perfect. We will try a different product in the second topic that we have, best dog bowl. Oh man, we're gonna love this. My dog is such a picky eater and she used to gobble food. So we had to be creative with her bowls. So I know a little bit about this. Okay, let's go ahead and create. Again, there's going to be different kinds of bowl, right? So you might want to be a little more specific with this particular query. Like people are going to fight for it. Like, I mean, there's going to be tons and tons of keywords around this. Best dog bowl for French bulldog. That's something that I would probably go after, right? Like, yeah, be a little more specific and talk about things that people are not talking about that often. All right, let's just go ahead and pick this one right now and we'll get started. But all right, so what are we looking for when we create something around best dog bowl? It's most likely about listing out a few that you think are good and suggesting what is the best for the customer, right? Types of dog bowl, metal, ceramic, etc. So it's not just types, right? Like what is the best dog bowl, like specific to your dog, right? Or a breed. It could be many things. It's just not type. So let's see what all things that we can come up with. Yep, agreed. And we don't know that, right? So we want the AI to come up with the suggestions and help us guide on what to add. Let's give it a second. Great. It's going to take another second. Feel free to drop in a joke if you guys have it. I just, what did the AI say to the other? Beating Google at its own algorithm is my New Year's resolution. Okay, either taking up my memory or it'll just come up in a second. So is this really? Oh, there we go. Slow. Yes. Sometimes so, and I'll tell you why it is a little slower, and you'll probably understand this. So when it comes to keywords like this, best bowl for dogs and stuff like that, imagine the kind of competition you are going to have for this kind of keyword, right? Thousands of brands, well, not thousands, like not if like I'd say like there's millions of brands selling dog bowl, and they all want to rank for it. So everyone's trying one thing, creating long form content, because that's what they've been advised to if they want to outbeat the competition. So it is going through and reading all of that data and coming up with very concise suggestions. So that's why it's taking a little more time in some keywords than the others. Let's go ahead and go that. You have a keyword which has very low SV. What does an S? No, for search engines which are lesser in volume, look at your network speed too. So what happens is that the way I just listed all of these data here, and you see how much data it is, right? For this one, if there is lots of data, what will happen is that all of these data will be collected into a packet and transmitted over to your desktop, where then it gets presented in the way it does. So if there is tons of data around what you are doing, in that case, it can take longer, but 10 minutes is very, very, very long. I would say if it takes more than 2 minutes, just refresh the page. It should load right away. Okay, how to choose the best. Okay, this sort of makes sense. This is where I would probably want to start with. Dishwasher safe. This is important. Okay. Let's see, best dog bowl. People are looking for Amazon, pros and cons. Ethical pet stainless steel coop wire. I don't know. So what is the best dog bowl, pros and cons? Probably want to add this. So every time I see a pros and cons, I know that every product that I am going to list out, I'm going to add a pros and cons for it. So that's just something that I do. So like, let's say now you have the first set of outlines. Let's go to PA and add a few questions. I would definitely need an FAQ section for this. I'm not going to get into the FAQ section, but let's get into something more specific where we talk about products. So best ceramic product. Let's look at that. And you can choose a different product for this. Absolutely, that's fine too. And you can go ahead and edit and change this particular product name to something else that you want. Okay, so we've added a few, right? I'll add one more so we can look at some of these things and go. Okay, all right. So for all of these things, we've already seen how to go about creating concepts. What we really need to see is for this, right? So whenever you're writing about product, it is important to have facts associated with it. So since this is best ceramic Waglo diaper, like I don't really know what that means, but let's go ahead and see FAQ. So what does this do? FAQ, it goes ahead and finds all the relevant questions that this particular section is answering, and you can build upon that. So what is the best ceramic, right? What are some reviews for best ceramic items? What are the features of best ceramic? So these are the questions that have been answered from this particular paragraph, right? So I want to talk about what are the best features for the best ceramic, right? That's what I want to talk about. So let me go ahead and break this out into an H3. And I will use this H3. So it already has the research, okay? It already tagged in the research. So we made this enhancement in this earlier release today. So every time you generate concepts now, it will automatically bring the content that it found on the SERP before extracting this information. So you can refer this, and if some facts are missing and you want to add more, you can obviously go back and check this here instead of going and finding that information and figuring it out on your own. Okay, so I have this. What are the features of best ceramic bowl? Now let's go ahead and find out features for it. Okay, there are 10 choices. Dishwasher, microwave safe. It is made from ceramic, so it's elevated dog bowl. Okay, at 2, we don't need that. It has atomic feeder, right? Like, just think about this. We don't want to need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. And probably this might not be either. So these are some of the features that we extracted from this particular bowl. So if I was to build out content for it, I would start here, probably build out a couple of, and you can use questions as well to come up with the summarization answers. So that's totally fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and just delete this out. And then you want to say, you want to build out this H3. So in that case, I would go ahead and add that. And I would start adding this as is. They are already ready to be entered in your content, and you don't really need to build out a paragraph. If you want to build out a paragraph, you can by selecting multiple concepts and coming up with a concise paragraph around what are the features of best ceramic dog bowl and having this in it, just like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and delete this. And let's say I want to build pros and cons for this as well, right? So which is something that I would really want is pros and cons. So say features, pros. Okay, now let's go ahead and pick out some pros from it. There we go. These are the pros of the particular product. So you can start building out paragraph or listing them as listicle with no problem at all. So people who are creating this comparison sort of post, this should come really handy using benefits and disadvantages template. It will really get some good content that your users will actually love reading. Okay, so now I have that. If I want to build out a paragraph around it, I can. If I just want to add them as listicle, I can as well. The choice is yours. So now let's say, what are the features of best ceramic bowl? Let's go ahead and minimize this and add a new one, right? So I will go to Google and okay, this is electric, but it's not necessarily for dogs because I see both. Okay, this is cool. All right, let's go ahead and copy this content. And what is the name of the product? ORSTA. Okay. Okay, similarly, if you go and extract features, it will do a phenomenal job in grabbing that information for you. It's more digestible than most users would find it on Amazon. Let's say now you want to write reviews for it, right? Like you want to write whether it was useful for the users or not. In that case, instead of using the same content, I would go here and pick out one of these things. So this has negative reviews. You can collect positive sentiments out of it as well, but we're going to use this majorly to come up with disadvantages for our content. Okay, all right, that's brutal, right? But it is what it is. Okay, sometimes I forget, I'm going to go back to the questions and read a few questions here. Sometimes I forget which generated concepts had been written. Is there any chance to market that concepts have been written already instead of deleting the ones one by one? Not yet, but that should be on one of our roadmap. The reason there are challenges to it because there are millions and millions of concepts that you can generate. Just for example, let's say you're writing a 5,000 word article. There could be literally 1,000 or 2,000 rows of concepts that were generated. And we don't want to be storing that kind of data for redundancy into the database and decreasing the performance, right? So a smartest way to tackle would be to at least maintain it while you are in the browser and just to kind of let you do the work right now and identify the ones that you've already, but if you come back to it, it would refresh and start from all over. So we thought about it and we want to implement it in some smart way where we can capture most of the scenarios where you'd find it useful. Why do you think about the button click to generate concepts still showing even after the clicking on it and give you the ability to generate new concepts according to another template? It's already there, my friend Amir. You see this drop down over here. This is one of the enhancements that we made. So you can go here and you can say benefits and generate. It has a nice looking design. The code is not too short. It's just the right length for the right size. So it can do the same thing, generate multiple concepts or multiple kinds of concepts within the same screen. When you copy reviews into the cog area, can you copy several at once? Absolutely. Copy as many as fits in that particular box. And the limit is 1,600 characters. So it will not let you add more than that. But yes, you can add as many as 1600 words, 1600 characters, sorry. Importing an older blog and rewriting it. Okay, so Outranking is not only going to be a rewriting blog, but I can show you how you can rewrite it. Okay, so you can import it from here. You just paste the URL. So I don't have a URL for this particular one, but we can go. Let's just pick out this particular topic. Use this link. Okay, so I have my content here, and the way I would go about rewriting is this. There we go. This is the way I would go about rewriting it currently. And if you are just doing like total rewriting of content, I would say there are like far better, cheaper tools than GPT-3 for rewriting. That is one of the limitations for better data as well as GPT-3. So it's not just about GPT-3. It's not that you cannot do more than that. You can, but how much would you write? For example, let's say we've seen blog posts with literally 3,000 words in one section itself. Now, all of that is relevant, right? So the way we go about doing that is concising that with our BERT and a few other engines that we use, and then coming up with a more concise version of it before we influence the AI to pull out concepts from it. So if you want more than 1600 words, use that link into the research section here, and it can read through it. You just cannot add custom concepts more than 1600 characters. Absolutely, yes. Optimize the content using Outranking. It will give you results. And if it is an old post and already has some page authority to it, I would say, create the best content and you will definitely see improvements in ranking very fast, just because that post has been there since a very long. Will it pull out data from PDF? It can. You can add a PDF URL here. It can. But again, if you're pulling it out from PDF, no one PDF is same. The encoding for every PDF, the font sizes for every PDF is majorly different, and they're structured very differently. So there can be some issues when pulling out content, and no matter what tool you use. So yes, you can by adding the link to the PDF. But again, reliability is something that you're gonna have to check, just because the way PDF work is much different than a Word doc. Okay, with the methods, is there a list of the actions? I'd like to try writing a few, but I don't know where to start. All right, I will quickly look into the methods. We have a very extended session coming with many more methods next Thursday. So I really wanted to go over it then, but I'll quickly show you how you can go about creating a method. So let me go ahead and edit the one that I made. So I made a cyborg style introduction, right? Let's go ahead and edit that. What I've done is write an introduction paragraph for about the title. So I'm passing the title value here automatically. I don't have to put that manually, using the tone of a cyborg. Now, if I don't want to use cyborg, I could say use tone, right? And there's a tone option here as well. So you could just copy this and put the tone here. And every time you trigger it, it's going to ask you if you not entered the tone to enter the tone, and then it will go ahead and generate that particular result for you. There's many things, right? So let's go ahead and look at a few other. Translation to Spanish, okay? And this is very simple either as well. So, but it can look complicated, right? And this is one of the more complicated examples. And I am going to publish some of these methods online so you guys can learn from it and build your own as well. As I think Jason was also planning on doing something like that. But okay, so you see that what I've done is just translate the input to Spanish. It's just basically asking the AI on how you would go about translating the content. I put in some input, and then I gave it some example of Spanish output. I gave it some input, and I gave it some Spanish output, right? And now I'm just saying, use the selection to generate the Spanish out of it. And when I click save, what does it say? Use the selection. Select the text in the editor before pressing command. So let's go ahead and go up here. I will select the text, and then I can come here and press command, and it will spit out the Spanish version of it, right? So similarly, you can build some examples. And if you don't have an idea on how to go about doing this, suggest a method, right? Like, is there something specific that you are looking for that could help out a lot of people? Feel free to send me a DM or post it in the group, and we can build out that method in practically a few minutes. So intro paragraph is a word we can use. So conclusion would be another. Yes, that would be a different method. Because it needs to be built out differently, you need to transition the user into taking an action at the very end or summarizing general concepts around it. So it works much different, and we'll create some methods around that. 600 characters you can translate at once. I'm trying to figure out what terms it understands. Okay, let's go ahead and add here. It can understand title. It can understand selection. Selection means anything that you select before pressing command. Okay, it can understand description, which is meta description right here. It can understand keywords as well, and I'll show you an example of that. It can also do some help, right? So let's do this help. So you can create templates which can allow you to actually automate some processes like later on. So let's say you wanted to create a template for a method that lays out the foundation for recipe blog post, right? For example, recipe, why choose the recipe, how to how to cook recipe. Or you could also say, okay, I've taken 3 examples here to show you what it can do. Recipe, okay, write an outline for a blog post. Okay, so let's say I'll just go ahead and submit this, and I'm just going to give some quick introduction so we don't have to worry about that right now. Save it. And this is a help method, right? We're just going to generate some help out of it. So let's go ahead and see what happened here. Now it says write help here. It's just going to go ahead and write that, right? Now let's say write an outline for a blog post about, and then you can take this. Well, this is not a recipe, right? About something, muffin recipe, right? So I just wrote that, and now I can instruct it to come up with an outline. And if you want to be more specific, you can put a 1 so it knows that you really want an outline. There we go. So you can automate quite a few of these processes by building out your custom methods. There you go. Yes, you can make list of things that you always use, and this does not consume AI characters. Okay, so when you have a specific set of instructions that you want to save for different use cases, or your different team members as well, or different kinds of content that you write, or different types of content you write for different kinds of customer, you can come up with this precise list. So you can say a content format for XYZ customer, right? So every writer on your team, or whenever you are writing it, they would have kind of the visibility of what needs to be done for that particular client. It's the non-hash words that I'm not knowing where to look for them. Like write an outline, write an introduction, would write a list of work, right? Like, yeah, so yes, it would work. I really suggest you go and read some of this tool here. This will really help you understand how to build out instruction methods for it, and it'll kind of give you a gist of what you can actually do with it. Go to blogs. There's a very old blog post that I published, how to use AI for SEO creation and optimization. So there are tons of methods in here that I've listed. You'd see examples. So you'd write a basic outline, write a outline with specific numbers of section. There's many, like 50, 60 examples here. And then once you have those in, I think you can be more creative than I was. Yes, I hope that helped. Yep, sounds good. Okay, so any more questions, guys? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask or dump the question right in there. Happy to answer live right here and look at some more examples. Please don't be shy. European river cruise. Yes, let's go and look at that. Yes, I will quickly walk through that. So optimizing existing content, we go over like in really detail on Tuesday's webinar, where we talk about like how to explore the platform capabilities. I'll quickly go over it, but we would probably run out of time for going it too much in detail. So let's go ahead and select this, right? You can see like there's CPC is high, right? Like, but okay, European river cruise. And this again might, I mean, things to consider when traveling on some of these cruises to Europe. What places to see on this cruise? What are some of the best cruises out there? What are the lengths of the stay for this cruises? How much does it cost, right? Like all of those things at back of my head would probably come into picture, but we'll see from the AI wizard. So while this is going at it, let's go ahead and see how we can, how I can show you optimizing existing content. I'm going to pick out an existing content that we can actually optimize. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick something with lower score here. Let's go ahead and look at this, right? This is the outline. So we're gonna optimize for this particular link for this particular keyword. So let's go ahead and import. Okay, there we go. It imported all the content in here, and it's just a bunch of crap here. Let's go ahead and delete that. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that. And you see like, okay, so the score has improved a little bit since we got the new content. The old content has lower score. That's okay. Let's go ahead and go to instructions, and you see all of these is great. But it's missing an H1 tag. Okay, which is great. Okay, let's go ahead and add an H1 tag in here. Yeah, it's missing an H1 tag, proper H1 tag. Or tips of finding the best bowl online. This is not an H1 tag. You need to convert that into an H1 tag. This is an H2. Okay, but it's still not targeting all the keywords. So you can optimize it more if you wanted to. Then you can go to sections, sorry, instructions, go down and see, okay, you have 20 sections, which you have 31 sections, which is great. So you got a tick mark, but you're not optimizing it for the right keywords. You don't have any of these keywords listed in your H tags. So what you need to do is tips on finding Midwest stainless. Okay. So okay, you see this best bowl for dog trait. This shouldn't be here. This should be here actually, and this is the best practice for using it. And okay, so you need to be not using this in just bold tags. It's okay to use it in the bold tag, but you really need to have it in the right tags. And what it's suggesting here is that you use all of these keywords in sections, H2 and H3 tags, not just your content. And that is why it's important. So although you have a very great topic coverage, so you would see like if you're optimizing it with some other tools, and let's not name it, there's only 2 or 3, right? Or they'll just, yeah, let's not name the tools here. But if you're optimizing with other tools, they use mainly topic coverage only, right? And this is what happens. You get a great topic coverage score, but not a great SEO score. So going about creating content around topics coverage is a bad idea. You go the other way around. You create the most optimized outlines first, and then you work your way down into writing the content. And then at the very end, you make sure that you are covering all the topics. That's how you create content. And most of the other tools recommend you that, hey, you know what, include all of these things and you're good to go. Include it this many times and you're good to go. That does not work like that. So now you see why it's not ranking or has the full potential of ranking it in spite of having the right topic coverage. It has great topic coverage, so all the other tools are probably going to give it because it covers the user intent in a very good manner, but it is not using the right keywords. So this is how I would go about optimizing the content: is go through all of these instructions and make sure that I have tick mark in whatever things that I can possibly get tick marks in. Any other question, guys? Okay, so did that? Okay, no, wait a second. We had to look at the cruise thing, right? Before I forget that. So there we go. Find the cheapest European river cruise from London, Prague, Vienna, and Paris. I do not sell cruise tickets, but I'm going to pick this one out and go with it. You're welcome, Kim. What is LSI words? I really want to understand LSI. So you mean NLP terms? Latent semantic index. Okay.
Yes, semantically. Usually there are related keywords, you can say that. For example, if you are using school, the student is a related keywords, and it means that LSI keyword.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So it's semantically related keywords. You want to map them together? No, there's no way to list out the LSI keywords. And it's often complicated. Like, why would you?
Actually, we are suggesting related keywords and some topics keywords. Actually, they are LSI keywords they can use in their blog posts or articles.
Right. So here, look at this, right? So what you are suggesting, I'll go back to that cruise. I'm not forgetting you. Okay, so let's go back to related keywords here. And you see, right? So what you could suggest is that European river cruise and European river something else, right? Like which could mean cruise, could be the same thing, and you want to see if they map up together. Currently, that's not there. And the reason why it's not there, so like it can be a standalone utility, but in order for that to be mapped right to the content, imagine the amount of semantic analysis and the word counts you would have to read to identify which ones it relates with, right? So it's a bit of a challenge to do that. We even thought about that, but yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. So in those cases, you often rely on topic coverage and keywords and make some best guesses based on what you see in the data while you're creating your content. So as a standalone report, I think that totally makes sense to find out like develop and create is the same thing when it comes to building content marketing strategy. But yeah, currently there's no way in Outranking to find out like the LSI terms. Okay, let's go here and go back to here. So this European cruise, like I often have problem coming up with the right content. So some of the cruises that people are looking for, right? So what I do is I usually go to PA first. Okay, this is what I really want to start. Like, okay, this could be more specific when you start talking about the Vikings one. So let's see. Okay, there's no Viking here. Let's go back here and see. Yep, there's Vikings tour, right? So best European, all of it. And I would, nope, not this one. And I can talk about all of these cruises that go around in that as well. Okay, experience tour directory, the benefits of small. Again, right? Like there's some really good ideas over here too that you can include in your FAQs. What are some benefits of going in small group versus big groups, solo trips, and stuff like that, right? Like if this is your niche, you'd know probably a lot better than I would, but I would add all of that information and probably go through SERP actually. So this is really good data. Okay, this are really good river cruises that you'd probably want to include. So I have some of this here, but not all of these, right? So I would add this, this, and this, right? I would create the most comprehensive tour guide that I could for the users to come up with the data and then just group them in there. Okay. And I don't know why it's replicating, but here, okay. Okay. So we have like a general section here. I'm going to delete this one out. I don't know why it added so many. Okay. Okay. All right. So we have a general section over here that we can get started on. And go about here, start generating concepts. Oh, there you go. You see that Europe is set to open. So it's talking about the most relevant thing when it comes to river cruises. So something to understand right now, this thing is closed, right? So River Cruise Line planning on restarting European sailing this summer. River Cruise Lines are restarting sailing, okay. And possible testing requirements, great. This is good stuff. I should be able to write on this. Okay. And then you can start getting into the details of which are the best, most scenic cruises or something like that. But you get the idea, right? Like the concepts are really going to try harder now and find out all the relevant information. There you go. You could just use this content as listicle, except a few. It was debuted in 2019. So you can also come up with a paragraph that you wanted to for this particular thing. And it will not paste the H3 by itself. So you will have to, but then you can summarize. There we go. Start building out your content for this. Did that help? Sounds good. Okay, so I really hope that this really helped you guys in understanding how concepts work a little better and how you can write really fast. Most people often get carried away when they are creating content is in the details of whether I transition this just right now, whether I change the content right now as I go about and edit it. I have found it useful, then this is my way of doing it, but I found it useful to go about really just coming up with that first draft, even if it has some minor errors in it first, and then I start reviewing it, and then I make those necessary changes, transitions, and more impactful, add some examples if I have any, and just make sure that the content that is the final result of it is really better than what people have written out there. Yes, you can actually. And there's a couple of methods that we're building around it as well to make it better. Let's go ahead and look at that. It actually works right now as well, but it will be better once that method is built out. Okay, let's go ahead and YouTube Outranking, and we can pause it, and you can open up the transcripts over here, and you can toggle this out. So toggle this transcripts out, and then you can copy this particular content from it, come back to the editor, go to sections, and you can paste this in the custom content. We're gonna have some really good ways to build out this transcriptions. But let's go ahead and delete this so you have an idea what I mean. So let's say you have the content in this particular editor. Now it's time for you to go ahead and extract the questions of it, right? Before you start answering it or figuring out what you're going to be actually talking about from this particular content. So I can say FAQ and generate some ideas for it. What are the features of outranking? What are some of the features of pop-up utility in the editor area? How do you use outranking to create SEO content fast, right? These are the questions that are being answered from that particular video. I could delete this one. And what I will do is convert this into an H3 tag. And this H3 tag already has my content, and I can use that to answer concepts. So let's go ahead and just select default. Oh, no, sorry. Hold on a second. I want to do related. because I am finding out only the relevant information around how to use outranking to create SEO content fast from the relevant section. So I would use related and generate concepts for it. It doesn't have the entire context of the data. I just copied and pasted a small portion of it, a few lines. So it's just coming up with that. But once you start pasting all the content in, it will read through that data and come up with more precise suggestions. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, this is all the data that it has from the data that we provided. So this is how you can use to create YouTube. What we are working on is a method where you can paste control. You can just paste the content out of it. You can select the content and press the YouTube optimize method. It will write the paragraph and the heading for it. And you can just take a modular approach to coming up with this entire post in less than 2 minutes. Yes, it is. But that is why we have a workaround, and we're building a method that can let you do this in a much more efficient way and faster. So if you want to write like really good content, so understand this, right? Let's say you have a video which is 2 hours, right? How many characters are going to be in it? I would say it's going to be thousands of characters in it, right? If you pass all that data to any AI or any human being and say, come up with an AI can come up in a short time, but how relevant can it be? If a human can take, a few minutes to an hour to understand that data and come up with precise suggestions for it to write the particular paragraph, we can't really expect that much out of an AI, right? So passing more data means poor quality. So you have to restrict that as well and make sure that there is a right balance for it. And that's why we're building out this creative methods that can let you surpass some of this thing and help you come up with content really fast. Any other question, guys? Yes, it is. Okay, all right. I think we're all set.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See you next Tuesday.
See you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.